Hey everyone, good day. Welcome to Firewall Analyzer Pre-Training Part 1. Right, so a quick introduction about myself. Hey everyone, I'm Vikram. I'll be your presenter today and I have over 3 years of experience as a subject matter expert in enterprise security management. So without further ado, let us jump straight away into the agenda for today. First, we'll be looking at a typical network infrastructure and why firewalls play a critical role in network security. Second, we'll look at a more important question in hand, that is, why should a security admin use Firewall Analyzer? And from here on, we'll look at how to fetch the firewall rules and configurations from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. And further, after fetching the rules and configurations, we'll have a look at the rule management capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, followed by its configuration monitoring and backup capabilities. And finally, we'll be looking at the compliance report and audit report capabilities. All right. So as discussed before, let us take an example of a typical network infrastructure. Excuse me. A typical network infrastructure consists of a router, a WAN, and a LAN. In addition to that, you also can find multiple endpoint devices which connects to the WAN and LAN, and various types of on-premise servers, including the Active Directory server, which manages permissions and accesses to your network resources. And last but not the least, the gatekeeper to all of these network devices, which is firewall. Hackers generally can attack any one of these, and ManageEngine products in general have the capability to monitor and report on all of these network devices. However, today we'll be looking specifically at firewalls. Why firewall devices? Because firewall is the heart of security in any enterprise network. Once a hacker gets into the heart, that is the firewall device, he or she will have unlimited access to your entire network infrastructure. So why firewall analysis? Hackers working around the clock to breach networks, it is essential to ensure that your firewall rules are spot on. Outdated firewall rules can be easily exploited by hackers to get into your network. Firewall rules for this very purpose need to be regularly audited and optimized for best performance. Finally, security admins. They are in a state of constant tug of war with the hackers. And to win this war, network admins are constantly installing new security devices, such as your VPN, IDS, IPS, over and above the existing systems. But merely installing these security devices is of no use. And let's simply not stop with monitoring, but also in implementing a monitoring combined with a quick remediation solution, such as Firewall Analyzer, which will be the key to win this tug of war. And lastly, regulatory mandates. These do not only ensure regulatory compliance, but will also help in covering common security loopholes. Introducing Firewall Analyzer, a policy management and configuration reporting software which helps in managing and optimizing firewall rules using its rule management module. And it helps in identifying who made what changes, when and where. And not only this, it also helps in taking a configuration backup in case of a network disaster using the config monitoring and backup module. And it also helps to keep track of your security and traffic logs using its log analysis module, followed by the alarm management module, which helps to notify attacks and bandwidth anomalies as and when they happen. Finally, we have the compliance management module, which helps in identifying firewall misconfigurations and in providing detailed compliance-related reports that help you to comply with the regulatory mandates. All right. So now that we got a brief on the capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, let us jump straight in on how to fetch the rules and configurations from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. Excuse me. All right. So the step one to do that would be to configure your firewall device to generate syslogs at the default UDP port number 1514. So this is the default listener port of Firewall Analyzer. Once you do this and syslogs are getting forwarded to Firewall Analyzer, with these syslogs, Firewall Analyzer will be able to perform log analysis and alarm management facilities to your firewall device. Step two. Once you receive the syslogs from firewall device to the firewall analyzer tool, credentials profile can be set for that specific firewall device. So once you do this, you get access to the inventory, and that is very specific reports for each individual firewall device that is added to firewall analyzer. So step 1 and 2 will be covered in detail in the next session, which is scheduled for 7th of November, and I implore you to attend that. So in today's session, what are we going to do? We're going to look at step 3 in detail, because this is a large module in itself. All right, so once you set the credentials, you have to now fetch the rules and configuration from your firewall device and add this firewall device to the device rule. Once you do this, you get access to rule management reports and configuration monitoring and backup reports, and also compliance management report, which is consequently what we'll be looking in today's session. All right, so on to the next slide. So let's start with fetching the rules and configurations from your firewall. And in Firewall Analyzer, we can do that using 2 methods. So number 1, you can directly fetch the rules and configurations of your firewall device using CLI or API protocol. The second way is to add the firewall device in the device rule by directly uploading the firewall rules and configurations as a file. So the first method will be covered in this slide, and the second method will be covered in the following slide. So the API or the CLI fetching is currently available for select firewall vendors. Excuse me. We'll be sharing a list of all the vendors that supports the API and CLI fetching option with you post this session. So on the screen, you can see a sample screenshot of how to add the device info. Given on the left is the CLI of a firewall device, and in this case, this is a Cisco firewall. And on the right is the Firewall Analyzer's product UI. So to add your firewall device using the API or CLI protocol, you'll need to enter the username, password, prompt, enable command, enable password, and a couple other information. So I'll be showing all of these to you in the product UI. So for that, I'm taking you to the UI. All right. So what you see here is a sample setup that I have created for the demonstration purposes. Now to show you device addition methods, go to settings, go to firewall server, and hit credentials. All right, so over here you can see that there are multiple devices that has already been added. So those devices are listed over here. Now to add a new device, simply hit on add, and over here you choose your firewall device from this drop-down box and choose the format in which you want to add this device. So first we're going to look at CLI or API. So let me leave it at CLI for now. And to add a new credential profile, in case you have one added already, you can choose that over here. So to add a new credential profile, simply enter the primary details, including the protocol, your firewall's IP address, login password, and in the additional information, you have a couple more information that is needed to add and validate this particular credential. So once you've added all of that, you hit on validate for Firewall Analyzer to check if these credentials are valid. And once these are confirmed, you'll automatically get this device to be added over here. So once you're done with this, you can fetch the rules, generate security audit, and you can even generate change management report. All right. Moving back to the deck. All right, so now we're going to look at the second way to add your firewall device to the device rule. And this is by directly uploading the rules, a rule file and configuration file. So you can note that this actually works with either of these files also. So what is this file? This is actually with each rule, you create a file where it is listed in a single line in the respective order, and each rule needs to be separated by a comma. So this is the format in which we require the rule file and the configuration file to exist so that it can be recognized by Firewall Analyzer. So once you have these two files or either one of these files, you can import them and add the firewall device to the device. So let me take you to the product to show that to you in working. So again, you go to the same window, settings, firewall server, credentials, and hit add. And over here, you choose the final option, that is the file option. All right, so here you get two options to import a rule file and a configuration file. I've already prepared a config file for this purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. All right, so I'm going to hit import. And once I do that, you can see that Firewall Analyzer is processing this particular request. And once that is done, you get my status, which is that the device has been successfully added to the Firewall Analyzer product. All right. So in addition to these two methods, we also have a recently introduced method of adding your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer and monitoring them, which is manual device addition. So what is the difference between this and the previous methods is that this new device method of addition does not require any syslogs to be forwarded. Excuse me for that. It does not require any syslogs to be forwarded from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. These devices can be directly added to Firewall Analyzer for monitoring using just the device name and the IP address. This method is popularly used by auditors and managed service providers to provide firewall management service to clients. So even without syslogs, Firewall Analyzer can run all its rule management and compliance management features respectively. So let me take you to the product to show that to you in working. So to access the manual method of device addition, go to settings, go to discovery and hit on click add firewall. All right, so here you can see we have several options of adding firewall. Here is the option that lets you to discover devices by using forwarded syslogs. And over here, you can import the syslog file if you have that with you already. And in case you want to run a test setup or an evaluation setup, you have the pre-bundled sample syslogs to test this in a test environment. And now we're going to look at the add device manually option. So as this option says, this can be done without any syslogs. So here you simply have to choose your firewall type and your vendor, and you enter the IP address and device name respectively. And in case you want to not just simply monitor the firewall, you also want to use Firewall Analyzer's rule management and compliance report, simply check this option, and again you enter the credentials of the particular firewall. So once you do that, you also have access to firewall's rule management and compliance report for all of your discovered firewall devices. That's third method of device addition. So moving on. So once you have successfully fetched the rules and configurations of a firewall or discover your firewall, you get access to three primary reports from Firewall Analyzer, which is nothing but the rule management report, the configuration management report, and finally the compliance and audit reports. So now let me explain all of these these features using use cases so that it will be easier to understand how these features will help you in real time. So as a use case, I have created an imaginary admin who goes by the name Jim. And let's say that Jim is a network security admin, and the company that he's joined is facing a lot of network security issues. So as a preliminary task, Jim has been asked to optimize the firewall policies, to monitor the changes made to the firewall configuration, and also to schedule configuration backups. And finally, he's been asked to submit a detailed compliance and security audit report. So let us look at what are the challenges that our imaginary admin Jim is going to be facing and how he overcomes all of these challenges. All right, so let us look at the first task in hand for Jim. All right, so the first task would be for Jim to optimize the firewall policies, right? So to do this, Jim is facing the following challenges. Firstly, Jim is new to the company, which means he has no visibility into the rules. And also, considering that the company is pretty old, there have been nearly more than thousands of rules for him to review. And he also has to review each rule file manually, and he has no visibility into the existing rule set also. And since the company is very old, these rules have not been reviewed right from day one. And because of this, there are a lot of duplicate and unused rules. Additionally, more than one security admin has written these rules. Hence, these rules are highly unoptimized. Not only this, as I mentioned earlier, the company has more than 1,000 rules, and hence any new rule that Jim plans to add might impact the existing rule set in a negative manner. Finally, last but not the least, there are 5 firewall devices in Jim's company, not 1 but 5, and every time he needs to write a rule and analyze the impact of making the change, he has to do this across all 5 firewalls manually. So these are the challenges that are faced by Jim. So let us look at how Firewall Analyzer's rule management module can help Jim to optimize his firewall rules. Moving on. So under rule management module, we have several informative and useful reports. And the first report that we are going to be looking at is the policy overview report. So this report gives you visibility into all the rules that have been written on the firewall. And in addition to that, you can also filter rules according to their allowed or denied rules, inbound or outbound rules, inactive rules, logging disabled rules, any to any, and overly permissive rules. And in addition to all of these viewing, you can also download these report in various formats so that it'll be easier for Jim to get a clear visibility into the complete list of rules in the firewall. Let us look at how this looks like in the product UI. So for that, I'm taking you back to the product. And over here, we go to the rule management module that is over here. Right. And the first report that we are going to look at is the overview report. Right. So here you can choose the firewall device for which you want to generate this report. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to choose my demo firewall 123 device. Right. So once you choose the device, and here you can see that on the screen, you can see all the rules that are listed. And to view them in detail, you'll have to look at the total rule section. So here on a classification basis, you can see that we have various allowed rules, denied rules, inbound rules, inactive rules, and several other rules. So to get detailed information, I'm going to click on total rules. All right. So here you get a detailed information of all the rules that is present in the demo 123 firewall. So given this is the case, Jim gets clear visibility into the existing rules. Given that Jim is new, this is extremely important to him. And even if he is not new, it is very important for network security admins to have clear visibility into all the security rules that are present on the firewall. And in case he wants this reports to be downloaded, you have various formats that are built into the tool. You simply have to click on this button to get it in CSV format. This one gives you the report in Excel. This one gives it to you in PDF. And in case you want to have it sent out as an email, you simply have to click on the email and choose the send recipient email, and you will get this sent out to them directly. All right, moving on. Right. So now that Jim has solved the visibility issue, he now has to address the second issue. So as mentioned before, the rules have been written by multiple security admins and they have not been reviewed for a very long period of time. So because of this, there are a lot of anomalous rules and also overly permissive rules which are affecting the overall performance of the firewall. With Firewall Analyzer, you can rectify the anomalies that are present in your firewall policies, reduce overly permissive rules, and also fine-tune your existing rules. So let us quickly jump to the policy optimization report, which is the second report under the rule management report, and take a look at this in the product UI. All right, so going back to the product, and to access the second optimization report, simply click on the second report that is present over here. Once again, I'm having this report generated for my demo firewall device. And here you can clearly see the various policy anomalies, such as your redundancy, generalization, correlation, etc. And in addition to that, you also have rule suggestion, you have policy fine-tuning, object usage, duplicate objects, and all of those informations are available, which we'll be discussing through the course of this session. Right. So going back to the deck. Right. So the anomalies that we just looked at in Firewall Analyzer, we have 5 different anomalies that are classified. Those are shadow, redundant, generalization, correlation, and group. So these refer to the different methods by which firewall rules are getting duplicated, overshadowed, or being a subset of another rule, thereby impacting the performance of these particular rules. So these are the classifications that are present in Firewall Analyzer by default. All right, so in this slide, we have given detailed examples of all the anomalies that are detected by Firewall Analyzer. We'll be sharing this presentation with you once this training is over so that you can go through the different list of anomalies that the tool is detecting, and you can understand in detail on why a particular anomaly is classified as redundancy, shadow, correlation, generalization, or grouping. So let me quickly take you to the product to show this to you in working. All right, so over here, again, under optimization, under policy anomalies, you have look at all the policy anomalies that is present. So for the same firewall device that is discussed earlier, we can see there are a couple of generalization, there are a couple of correlation errors, anomalies. And in case you want to view them in detail, simply click on them and you will get the detailed list on all the rule number and why a particular rule is categorized as a generalization. So like this, you get information for all the anomalies. You also have that for correlation. Right. So for every anomaly, you get a detailed report using Firewall Analyzer. So next, we're going to look at rule suggestion, and for that, I'm going to choose a different firewall device. So once I hit rule suggestion, you get this section. And in case you want to create a new rule suggestion, simply hit generate, fill in the report name, and select the time period for which you want this rule suggestion, and you will get something like this. So to give you an example, I'm going to click on this report. All right. So here you can see all the overly permissive rules which are connected to the overly permissive source or destination. So with this, once again, you can clearly identify what are the rules that are overly permissive, and overly permissive rules are generally a big issue because they can be easily exploited by attackers and hackers to get into your network. All right. So next, we're going to look at the policy fine-tuning option. So for policy fine-tuning option, under policy fine-tuning, you simply have to choose the particular option and choose the time frame, hit fine-tune, and you'll get an option like this. And over here, you can see you'll get a recommendation from Firewall Analyzer on how that particular rule is affecting the existing rule set and on how it can be optimized. So you get all of those suggestions as well. All right. So in addition to that, next we have object usage. So to view that, simply click on the objects. Here you have a list of the overview of the network and the service objects that have been used by firewalls based on the syslogs received for a period of time. You get all of those informations. And finally, you also get duplicate objects, and that is also available for an extended period of time. Here you can choose your device category and your type. And once you do that, you get the details on the duplicate objects. So next, we're going to look at the yet another report of rule management, which is rule reorder. So with multiple security admins writing the rules are not optimally arranged. For example, let's say that a new rule was written recently, and this takes the position number of 500. But this rule has a lot of hits. In other words, it's a frequently used rule. So every time the firewall processor has to go through all of the previous 499 rules to get to this rule, which what it eventually does is it takes a hit on the firewall's processing speed. And Firewall Analyzer provides a rule reorder report, which helps you to solve this problem. So let me quickly take you to the product's rule reorder report to show this feature to you in working. All right. So for this, you go to under rule management, you go to reorder option. Right. And for this demonstration, I'm going to choose a different device, which would be my FortiGate 1 device. I'm generating this report for a period of 30 days. And to get new recommendations, I'll have to click on refresh, and I'll get something like this. So if you look at it, there are so many ways that the rule reorder suggestion has been provided. So what this basically means is that if this particular rule, rule number 22, is moved from its current position of number 7 to a new position of number 2, it will have a performance improvement of 24%. And you also get to see the number of hits for this particular rule. So this will give you a clear understanding of where your rule needs to be positioned to get the maximum output from your firewall. Having received these suggestions from both the policy optimization report and the reorder report, Jim can make further analysis on the repercussions of these changes using rule impact analysis, and further push these changes directly to the firewall device using the rule administration feature. So these two features I'll be discussing through the course of this session. All right, so now that we've covered rule reorder, moving on to the next report, which would be the rule cleanup report, again under a subset of rule management report. So as I explained, Jim's company is a very old company, and there is a possibility that there are a lot of rules which are not used, and these out of place rules can be used by the attackers to breach the network. With Firewall Analyzer's rule cleanup report, you get a detailed list of all the unused rules, unused objects, unassigned interfaces, and also unassigned objects. It is recommended that you first deactivate these rules for a short period of time, and once you find that there is no impact on the network, the same can be safely removed. This would not only make your network safer, but would also aid in firewall's processing speed. So let us look at how this report looks like in the product UI. So taking you back to the product, and I'm going to take you to the cleanup report. Right. So for this purpose, again, I'm going to use my FortiGate 1 as a demonstration. And here under unused rules, you can see a list of all the unused rules. Once again, as explained, if there are any rules that are outdated and as a result of not being used, hackers can pounce on them and get into the network. All right, next we're going to look at unused objects. And for this, I'm going to choose a different firewall. All right, so over here you can see that the rules that are unused, unused rules, and here you can see the unused objects. You get detailed information of all the unused objects, and you can also look at the unassigned interfaces over here and its corresponding interface name, the IP address, everything else will be available. And finally, you also get to view the unassigned objects, and that is the objects that are not associated with any rule will be visible for you. And as per your understanding, if you find that anything is not needed, you can deactivate them, check their impact, and go ahead and delete these unnecessary rules. All right, so moving on. So next we're going to look at the rule impact analysis. So this is one more feature of rule management. So why do we need this feature? Because before adding any rule, it is very difficult to know the impact it can have on your entire rule set. And firewall rules are not typically independent from one another. In fact, most rules have a direct impact on a set of another rules. Given this case, you must take utmost caution before adding a new rule in this firewall, because the simplest error can trigger a massive security loophole that either allows malicious traffic to sneak in or blocks legitimate traffic and disrupts normal businesses. With Firewall Analyzer's rule impact analysis, you can easily determine if the proposed new rule is going to impact the existing rule set negatively. The rule impact feature helps you to check the proposed new rule against the existing rule base for anomalies. It suggests an optimal rule order by analyzing the proposed new rule for rule complexity and anomalies. It helps to identify any overly permissive destination interfaces for the proposed new rule. It helps to detect and report on service, application, and interface level threats. It also singles out blacklisted IPs and makes sure that they are not used in any of your proposed new rule. It provides risk assessment for relevant services, applications, and interface ports. And finally, you also get to view the object repetitiveness in any of the newly proposed rules. So let me take you to the product to show this to you in working. And again, in the product, under rule management, you go to impact. Right. So let's say you want to add a new rule without applying it to your firewall. All you have to do is fill up the rule impact information over here. Click that and you fill all of these information such as your rule name, your rule position, your source destination, your source interface, destination interface, service actions. And in case you have a list of blacklisted IPs, you can add them over here if that is present in the form of a file. Simply have to check this box, click on browse and choose that. And in case you want to examine the object repetitiveness for a select number of rules, you can choose that over here. So once you're done with that, you hit generate report and you will get something like this. Show you an example. All right, let me take you to the demo firewall 123 report. All right, so this is a sample impact report that I have created. So to view this, simply hit view reports. All right, so over here you can see the impact analysis and the anomaly details. As you can see from this report, we don't have any anomalies. So if there are any anomalies found, that will be displayed over here. And you get a rule reorder recommendation over here. So it tells you how to position your rule to get maximum out of your firewall's performance. And here you see the overly permissive rules. And in case there are any, if you have rules with any source or any destination, that will be listed over here. And finally, you have security threat details. Here you get the details of service or application level security threats, followed by interface level security threats. And finally, you also get to see if any blacklisted IPs have been used in the newly proposed rule. And last but not the least, you also get the risk assessment of your services and application level ports and interface level ports. Here. And lastly, you get the object repetitiveness in the rule, and with respect to both service objects and source objects in other rules. So you get that information as well. So even before you write a specific rule, you get detailed analysis of how this particular rule will impact your firewall. Hence, with this impact analysis feature, Jim can clearly identify the negative interactions even before a particular rule is made live. All right, moving on. So next we're going to look at the rule administration feature of rule management. So Firewall Analyzer, by using this feature, becomes a firewall monitoring as well as management solution, because using this feature, you can directly impact or push changes to your firewall device. So there are 4 major functions that you can perform using this feature, which would be to add, modify, and delete your network and service objects. You can add, modify, and delete your firewall rules. You can analyze the implications of a change, which is already covered in the rule impact analysis. However, we have an overlap of this feature, and we can analyze the rule impact reports right over from here as well. And finally, we can push these changes directly onto your firewall device. So let us look at how this feature looks like in the product UI. All right, so taking you to the product UI for that. So here you go to rule management and you click on administration. Right, and for this demonstration, I'm going to use again my demo firewall 123 device. And all right, so the first thing that you can notice is the 3 tabs. This is a list of tabs over here, and the first 3 tabs are the places where you make the changes. So first you have the network object, you have the service object, and you have the security rules. So all of these are present, and under this you have something called firewall objects and local objects. Right. So the local objects represent the changes that you want to make in this specific firewall device. And here in the local objects, that is the changes that you can make under network objects would be to add, edit, or delete a service a network object, add, modify, and delete a service object, and also add, modify, and delete a firewall rule. So you can do all of that. So let me show you an example. So for that demonstration purpose, I'm simply going to take .NET. This is under firewall objects, and I'm going to edit this. And let me add a description and hit add. So once I hit on add, it doesn't mean that this rule has been directly pushed to your firewall. Obviously, there are multiple steps that we have to follow before we push this firewall rule to the firewall device. And this very same process applies to network objects, service objects, and also security rule. So as mentioned before, once you make an edit to the firewall objects, you can see that this is been pushed to the local object section. You can see the change that I have made. So further, after several steps only, this change will be pushed to your firewall device. All right. So now that you have edited either your network objects, service objects, or security rules, so once an edit has been made, you can see that the change is filled up in the local object section. So next, we have to push this to the firewall. So the next step to do that would be to go to the review and push tab. And here I'm going to choose all. So here you can see that the change that I have just made is filled over here. And in case I want to push this to the firewall device, the next step would be to click on push. And what I have to do here is to enter the credentials of my demo firewall 123 device. I'm going to hit validate. And Firewall Analyzer will check the validity of my credentials, whether or not I'm authorized to make this change. It will check. And once the validation success message. So once you're happy with that, simply hit on push. And you can see that the change I just proposed has been moved to the commit tab. So this is an added layer of security that we have. And here you'll need to validate and push. Once you validate and push, these changes will be populated in the commit tab. And from here, we have to confirm so that these rules get directly pushed to the firewall. And once we commit, the same is recorded in the commit audit for future reference. And I have been directly moved from the dashboard. And remember that only super admins have access to this dashboard. And here they can see all of the changes that are proposed by the operators or the admins. Anyone else who does not have the approval to push directly to the commit, their changes will be populated over here for the super admins perusal, and only upon approval, these changes will be pushed to the commit section, from where it will directly be pushed to the firewall device. Let me go back to my local setup. All right. So here you can see that. And in case you're not happy with any of the changes that are made, you can simply hit the revert option, and you can notice that this will directly go back to the local object section. Right. So from commit, it is directly gone back to local object section. So once again, you have to follow the review and push, rule approval, and commit section so that you get to understand, you get to be very confident that a particular rule gets pushed to your file. And in case over here, you want to check the difference between any of the changes that you propose, simply click the view diff, and here you get all the changes categorized as per the color code, so that it will be easier for you to understand which are the new changes, edited changes, or deleted changes. All right, so moving on. So next, we're going to look at the rule comparison feature of rule management. So this is a comparatively new feature of Firewall Analyzer, and by using this feature, Jim can easily pinpoint changes that are made to the firewall rule configurations, and he can do this comparison between any two configuration files. This could be live files, this could be two files that are uploaded, or between a live file and an uploaded file. So with this, Jim can clearly identify all the changes that are made to the firewall rules across various configuration versions. All right, so let me quickly take you to the product to show this to you in working. So in the product, under rule management, you go to comparison. All right. So before we look at comparing policies, let me tell you about the new feature that was launched on last month, the end of last month. So this feature is available from the version 12.7.244 onwards. And what this feature does is it gives you a history of all the rule changes that has been made on your firewall device. So here you can see that for my demo firewall 123 device, for the past 30 days, there have been a total of 54 changes, which includes 13 added changes, 27 modifications, and 14 deleted changes. So to view them in detail, or to view the breakage in detail, simply have to scroll down. Here you can see the recent change stats, the changes that are made by the users. Here you can view the rule change trend. Here you can see the total rule change trend. So here you get the split between added, modified, and deleted. And here you get the total trend. And in addition to that, you also get to view the total change reports. And over here to view more information on all the changes that have happened. Here on version number 41, there has been one modified and one deleted count. So to view that, simply click on this, and you will be taken to the comparison tab, where you will be shown the change that has been made. All right. So now that you've looked at rule change history, let's go back to comparing policies. And to do that, simply hit compare policies and choose the firewall device for which you want to have this comparison done. You can choose to compare between two configuration files, or between the latest running config, or between two running configuration versions. So for demonstration, I'm going to compare my I'm going to simply choose that and hit compare. And once the comparison is made, you'll be taken to a window which shows you the comparison based on color-coded information, which denotes the additions, modifications, and deletions between the running latest configuration versus the file that you have just uploaded. Okay, while that is loading, let me go back to the local setup again. All right, so yeah, here it is. Apologies for that. My internet is a little choppy, causing a delay in the demonstration. Right, so here you can see all the modified, added, and deleted changes denoted by color codes over here. And this is a comparison between the file that I have uploaded versus the version that is currently running. So moving back to the deck. Right, so here you can see that we are arriving at the last but one feature of the rule management, which would be the rule expiry notification. So to explain this, there is any rule that has been expired. These rules need to be rectified and reactivated again so that they stay in working condition. However, most organizations have hundreds of these rules, and there are several security admins working, which becomes really nearly impossible to review the expired rules and rectify them manually. So to speeden up this process, Firewall Analyzer has the rule expiry notification feature, which categorized its features into schedule rules, which helps you with all kinds of schedule has been set, and then it has the active rules, which enumerates all the active firewall rules for which schedule has been set. It has upcoming rules that catalogs all the rules that are scheduled to turn active in the future. You have expired rules, where all the rules that are expired are listed. And finally, you have recurring rules, where you can see all the rules that are reactivated and certified on a regular basis. So all of these expired rule notification reports can be downloaded in various formats. So let me take you back to the product to show this to you in work. So again, under rule management, you go to expiry notification. And over here for demonstration, I'm going to choose a different firewall device. All right, so here you can see we have all scheduled rules. We have a list of active rules. We have upcoming rules. We also have expired rules, one that have expired but are still present inside the system. And then you also have a list of recurring rules. Right. So next I'm going to explain the very last feature of rule management, which would be risk. So this feature is again a newly launched feature, and this helps you to simplify and prioritize and manage all your firewall rules. So what help it does is it helps in identifying the severity and in identifying uh, weak and vulnerable firewall policy misconfigurations and in limiting security incidents. So what you see here is the summary. So this page gives you an overall information about your firewall device's risky rules. And here you can see the classifications and that are present over here. Excuse me. Here you get the risky trend report. Here you get the risk level analysis report. And to get more information, you go to rules. And over here you are under the show by rules. This contains all the risky rule data along with the associated risk level count. Finally, you have show by risk. So this page displays the risky sections that contain all the risky rules. So once again, you click on any of them to get more information on all of those rules that are categorized as show by risk or show by rule. Hit that over here. And in addition to this, you also have something called excluded rules. So the rules that you have marked as false positive will not be triggered every time this risk is run. So that option is also available in Firewall Analyzer. So that's it for risk feature. And in case you're interested, I would recommend you to go to our demo.fwanalyzer.com to view this feature and how it works in real time. All right, so moving on. Right, so now that we have finished up on use case number 1, let's quickly go to use case number 2. So the second use case that is assigned for Jim would be to check on the firewall configurations. So one of the employees in Jim's company has left, and it is suspected that he did some damage to the firewall's configuration, which has gone unnoticed so far. So the company, in its attempt to avoid such incidents, has asked Jim to monitor and record all the changes that have been made to the firewall configuration. So let's look at how Jim does this and restores the previous version of the firewall configuration file without any issue. So moving on. So let's look at how Jim makes use of the change management report and configuration backup feature. So moving on. Right. As mentioned before, the changes made to the firewall configuration has gone unnoticed previously. But with Firewall Analyzer, if say this James, the employee who has quit, has made a change to the firewall, it will automatically be recorded by Firewall Analyzer. And Firewall Analyzer does not only track who made the changes, but it also tracks when it was done and what was the change that was made. So let us look at how this change management report looks in the product UI. For this, I'm taking you back to the product. And for this demo, I'm taking you to our online demo tool. And under compliance, you go to change management. And for this demonstration, I'm going to choose a Cisco ASA firewall, and I'm going to have data for the past 30 days. All right. So here you can see that these are the changes that has been made. And you scroll down, you can see there are several admins who worked on this. You can see the configuration changes made on the change from date, version number, change count, and change type. So to view the changes that has been made in detail, simply click on the little book icon next to the change. And over here, you can see in-depth information on the specific changes that has been made. So the purple color here denotes the newly made modifications, red denotes deletions, and green denotes new additions. Right, so going back to the product, and right, so under change management, we have yet another feature to report, and that would be the newly added config changes and rule change monitoring feature. So what this actually does is it gives you a detailed dashboard of sorts of all the configuration changes and the rule changes that has been made on your firewall. So here you can see in the past 30 days for this FortiGate 1 firewall, we've had around so many new additions, modifications, and deletions of configurations. Likewise, we've had so many additions, modifications, and deletions of rule changes. So once again, to view the changes in detail, you simply can click them over here. You get to view all of those informations right away. And you can also compare any of the configuration types over here between your LHS and your RHS over here itself. So that this saves you the difficulty of having to compare two configuration changes to understand what was the change that has been made. So again, to schedule this report on a recurring basis, simply go to actions and you can have this report downloaded in the form of PDF or email, or schedule this so that you get enter an admin, an email address, choose the format, and choose a schedule. So on the schedule, you'll repetitively be getting the reports from Firewall Analyzer. So with this feature, Jim can easily understand his configuration changes. So next we're going to look at the configuration backup feature. So this is a very important feature because it helps to schedule automated configuration backups. And hence, if there are any erroneous modifications to his current configuration version, which can be either due to human error or due to attack or due to a network disaster, you can simply take a backup of the working configuration files, and preferably a scheduled automatic backup so that you get the latest version. And you can simply restore that to make sure that the system does not undergo any hiccups during its routine operation. So to show that to you in working, once again, you go to compliance, and under compliance, you go to configuration backup. So here you can see all the schedules of my configuration backup that I have created, and here you have the backup audit. So based on your backup schedule, you'll get to audit when was the last backup made, and how frequently was it updated. All of those information will be available over here. And once again, you click on comparison, and this helps you to compare any two configurations or rule using this feature. So here you get to compare your configurations as well. Right, so moving on. So next we're going to look at the use case number 3. Right. So Jim's company need to be compliant with multiple security standards, but they are failing with a lot of them. So this has affected Jim so much, Jim and his company so much, that the employees have noticed that the customers are leaving the company. They are no longer loyal and they no longer wish to purchase with the company. So for this particular reason, Jim has been asked to submit a detailed compliance report and a security audit report. So let us look at how Jim solves this particular issue by using the compliance and security audit reports. Right, so moving on. Firewall Analyzer provides out-of-the-box compliance standard reports, which include SANS, PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, NERC, SOX, HIPAA, GDPR, Basel II, and also the recently added SOC 2. This helps you to periodically check for compliance and also lets you assess your firewall security. So let us look at how these reports look like in the product UI. So for that, I'm taking you back to the product. And to look at the compliance standards, simply go to compliance and click on standards. Right, and I'm going to have this information for my demo firewall device. As you can see, the given firewall device is not up to standards in several of the compliance mandates. So let's say that the company that Jim is working on has to deal with a lot of financial transactions, and hence they have to be mandated with the PCI DSS. So where it is here. All right. So here you see. So here you can see that there have been around fail count of 6, and we're only 40% compliant. So to view more information on this particular PCI DSS compliance and why we have failed, simply click View More. And here you will be taken to a detailed report highlighting on the areas that you have failed. Right. So when you scroll down, this overall review will give you the areas that you have passed, the ones in green tick, ones you have failed, ones in red, and ones that need manual intervention that are represented by star. So to give you an example of a failed section, let me quickly choose this one. All right. So here you can see that why this particular section is labeled as failure, and here you can see the details of this particular section, and also you get recommendations on what could be done to make sure that you have a chance of rectifying this issue. So all of these information is available on Firewall Analyzer out of the box. Right, so moving on. So next we're going to look at the security audit report. And Firewall Analyzer's security audit report helps you to identify the configuration loopholes in your firewall. So it lists the security event based on criticality, such as your high, medium, low, and info. And it provides a detailed finding, that is what is the impact on the network, and also suggests solutions and thus how it can help you to prevent security events. So to show you security audit reports, again, I'm taking you back to the product, and you can see the security audit reports under compliance. We click on security audit report, and once again, I'm having this for my demo firewall device itself. So when you scroll down, you can see the security audit summary and information on how to use this report, how to understand the report's results. Right. So when you scroll down here, you have the glossary, and all right. So here you can see that there have been 3 high-rated issues, 3 medium, 3 low, and 6 information level issues that has been identified and listed by Firewall Analyzer. So scroll down, and here you can see the highest priority, the high rated issue over here. And when you read it, you can understand, you get a quick analysis of what this particular issue is all about. And here you can see the impacted rule due to which this particular high priority has been triggered. And here you can see the risk result. And finally, a list of suggestions that when you follow, you have a chance of rectifying this priority and making sure that this does not repeat and you have a secure firewall usage. Right. So to summarize, Firewall Analyzer is a policy and configuration management tool. It helps you in identifying policy anomalies, unused rules and objects, and helps in performing in-depth impact analysis, and helps in pushing policy changes directly to the firewall. So thus, this plays a critical role in optimizing your firewall performance. Firewall Analyzer also provides out-of-the-box compliance report for SANs, PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, NERC, and several other compliance mandates. It helps to monitor your configuration changes and also in taking scheduled configuration backups. Finally, Firewall Analyzer supports all major firewall devices, and in case you want to have the list, we'll be sending that out to you shortly as well. Right. So moving on, listed here is the basic installation requirements, and Firewall Analyzer can be installed on a Windows or a Linux system, and all the syslogs that are received by Firewall Analyzer by default is stored in PostgreSDB, and if needed, you can also configure the syslogs to be stored in MS SQL Server. And what you see here, given as the RAM, the hard disk size, and the processing speed is for the minimum requirements. And this is only supposed to scale as your requirements grow. Right. So following are the prerequisite code that need to be free and the respective protocols that would be used. And here you can see that 1514 is the default listener port that is mentioned here as well. And in case this is not free, you will be required to submit a different syslog listener port. Right. So we have technology partnership with Checkpoint, Palo Alto, and WatchGuard at the moment, and we're actively negotiating with several other vendors to expand our security partnership. Right now, Firewall Analyzer supports more than 50 firewall vendors and around 200 of their devices. And again, this list only keeps growing with time. And Firewall Analyzer provides rule management report for the given list of firewall devices. So this is actually a shortened list. We'll give you an exhaustive list, which is present on our website. I'll be sharing this list with you post the session, so you can take a look and understand whether or not your particular firewall device is covered under Firewall Analyzer. And even if it is not, and you let us know, we'll be prioritizing your requirement to make sure that we start supporting your firewall devices as well. Right. So in the upcoming session, we have a couple exciting topics to cover, and this is scheduled on 7th of November. And to know more on the alarm management, security, and traffic reports, VPN monitoring capabilities, and also on user access control, and finally on forensic log analysis, all of these are features of Firewall Analyzer that we support exhaustively. And to know more about them, please do not forget to participate on our next session, which is on November 7th. Right. So quickly, we have 2 commonly asked FAQ questions that are frequent in all of our training sessions, and I've taken the liberty to add them to the deck. So let me quickly run through them. Right. So the first question is that, say I have pushed a change using rule administration. Is it possible to revert the change? If yes, how do I do it? So to show that to you in working, let me quickly take you to the product, go to rule management, and you go to administration. And over here under commit, you can see that any rule that has to be scheduled to push to the firewall device is listed over here. And in case you do not want them to go to your firewall device, simply have to hit the revert option and hit on add, and you can see that it has been removed from the commit and it has been pushed to the network objects section. So this is how you revert changes that are scheduled to be pushed to your firewall device. We have one more question, and this is regarding the managed security service provider. So how can it generate security audit reports and complaints reports for my clients without asking for their syslog? So this takes us to the third method of device addition, where we had added firewall devices without taking their syslogs. So for to do that, you simply have to go to settings, discovery, add firewall, and choose the adding device option without the syslog feature. So here you go and you fill in your IP address and device name of your clients, and you get to monitor their firewalls without asking for their syslogs in case they have any privacy concerns. Right. So in addition to that, we are also active on Pitstop, which is our forum where a lot of discussion happens between our technicians and network security admins. In addition to that, if you want to know more about the product, we have an exhaustive help section. You can access that to know more about our features and how they can be better utilized. And in case you want to reach out to us, we are available on fwanalyzer.support@manageengine.com or on the number that is given on the screen. You can ring us at any time. Right. So following that, we are listed on Capterra in case you are an existing customer or an evaluator who has feedback to offer. I would suggest you to leave them on the Capterra website. And for your time and efforts, we're giving you a small token of appreciation of about $25 gift card. And once you leave a review, you can reach out to us and tell us know that let us know that, hey Vikram, I've left a review, and we'll be processing the gift card right away as soon as the review gets published. And if you want to know more about the following topics, we have exhaustive ebooks as well. So these are free and could be beneficial for both new and experienced admin. So I implore you to give them a try. And we at ManageEngine take customer security and customer data security as top priority, and we ensure that it stays protected at all costs. If you want to know more about VPN management and you also want to collect the following collaterals, please do not forget to join us on our next session, which is once again scheduled on November 7th. So thank you for joining us today. I hope this session was fruitful, and I hope you learned a thing or two about Firewall Analyzer. And in case you wish to follow us, we are available on LinkedIn, Reddit, and YouTube. And LinkedIn is where we post our frequent updates.